Hi and welcome to episode 16 of Branchline, this beginner's model railway journey. In this episode I just want to show you about what I've done at the front of the layout. Last week I mentioned what I did at the back, which was to finish the back scene, and made a little harbour scene, if you like, some water and a harbour wall at the front now. Both of those things were intended to do the same thing, which was to help prevent serious damage if the locos fell off the edge of the track, because to make the most of the space I had, the 8 by 4 foot baseboard, the track goes very close to both edges, and of course this can cause serious damage if there's a derailment. So to stop locos falling from the front, I've made a little harbour wall with at right angles some foam board which looks a bit like the sea, and that should catch any locos that decide to do a nose dive off the edge of the layout. Also, because I now live in a beautiful part of Ireland in County Kerry and I'm surrounded by water, then I wanted to kind of model where I am as well. So, and also where I'm from. So there's an industrial section on the layout which I mentioned before, represents what my father did. He drove something similar to the Hornby Ruston shunter for a long time in an industrial setting, and I've also got a farm setting. And now I've got the water and I'm very close, like 1 kilometre away from a harbour here. So it's all sort of representative of kind of my past and my present as well. I'm just going to show you briefly what I did to make the harbour scene, but I didn't film everything. So I hope you enjoy it, and please subscribe just to keep my interest going. I'd like to get the subscription numbers up if possible and the views, so if you could help with that I would be very grateful. The harbour wall was the first thing I actually scratch built, and I made this from some sheets of 10mm foam board onto which I scored lines using the width of a steel rule with the back of a spoon. I wanted really a piece of metal that I could use that would gouge out lines rather than make cuts in the fiberboard. I'm sure there's an easier way of doing it, but this is the tool I used. I then scored lines off centre to give that typical look you get with stone walls. I then painted over the lines with a concrete coloured textured paint and wiped this off and let the paint dry within the lines before painting it again all the way over. I used 2 coats of the basic light grey paint and then darkened the grey and filled in some individual squares, maybe 1 on its own, 2 together, 3 together, to give an uneven pattern of a slightly darker colour. I then put some PVA glue in the lower part of the scored lines and applied some static grass with a puffer bottle to give the effect of algae near the waterline. Some rubber washers glued together give the effect of tyres used as fenders on the harbour wall against which boats would moor. The water area is made from 10mm fiberboard cut unevenly at one edge and nailed and glued at a right angle to the wall. I then painted on PVA glue, usually around 30 centimeters at a time, and then stuck on some toilet paper. I put 3 layers of toilet paper in each section, slightly overlapping them and making sure that each layer was wet with glue before I put the next one down. To make the wave effect, I took a wide paintbrush and pushed the toilet paper in the direction of the wall to make raised lines in random places along the board. I let the toilet paper and glue mixture go very dry for at least 72 hours before painting it with acrylic paint. I started with a dark green mixed with black and then gradually tried to make this darker as I went towards what would have been the outer areas of the water. Where the lighter and darker colours met in lines, I blended these in by dry brushing before the paint had become completely dry. To get a shiny effect on the water, I simply painted on undiluted PVA glue and let this dry. I only use one coat as I have bright lights in my train room, and this produced some very nice reflections. I've actually seen some different methods of doing this, some quite expensive, and I found that the PVA method worked very well indeed. So that's it. I hope it was helpful and useful to you, and thank you for all the kind comments I'm getting about the layout. It really is encouraging for me because, as you know, this was my first attempt and I seem to have got some of it right at least. I'm going to now, as I said, concentrate on getting the trains running more smoothly, maybe looking at the points and looking at stay lives and things like that. So please stay around for those videos when they come along and enjoy your layouts.